Most people can empathize with wanting a legacy. You know, that mark you leave behind on the world that proved you were here to future generations. Maybe you could invent something that would change people's lives, like airplanes or computers. Or even change the world in other ways, like Martin Luther King as the leader of the civil rights movement, or Marie Curie for introducing the use of radiation in medicine. Another way to achieve eternity would be to name a body part after you. And some people did that. I am talking about anatomists. Some of them named structures that they discovered after them. Some kept things simple and instead used Latin to name certain structures. And I respect that decision. If you intend to use the last option to build your legacy, well, I have bad news for you. You're probably too late now to name a body part after you. Other than small structures like the anterolateral ligament that had its existence confirmed in 2013, it is practically impossible to discover new body parts. We've seen them all, people. We're talking about thousands of structures identified by many anatomists throughout the years. And in this video, we're going to meet the body parts named after the scientists who advanced the field of human anatomy. Let's start with reproductive organs. Yes, in female mammals, the fallopian tube carries an egg from the ovary to the uterus. And these 4 to 5 inch long and 0.2 to 0.6 inch thick tubes are remarkably complex. They contain many intricate parts such as finger-like branches, mucous membranes, and small folds. But the reason why the fallopian tubes are so important is because they are critical to fertility in mammals, humans included. However, it wasn't until the 1500s that they officially got their name. Gabriele Falloppio was a 16th century Italian surgeon and physician famous for his work on human anatomy. Well, he significantly contributed to many areas of human anatomical sciences and is most heralded for his work on the ear and the reproductive organs. We get the name fallopian tubes from his discovery of the existence of these structures and their function. Speaking of fertility, perhaps the first stage in human reproduction is preparing the body for intercourse. These processes are different in males and females, but the underlying mechanisms are similar. One necessary step that must happen in both sexes is lubrication. In men, Cowper's glands, named after 17th and 18th century British anatomist William Cowper, are 2 pea-sized exocrine glands. They are responsible for producing a thick, clear mucus that's released before ejaculation to neutralize any urine that might be left in the urethra. In women, we find Bartholin's glands. These are homologous to Cowper's glands, and they lubricate the vagina before intercourse to aid reproduction. The glands were named after Caspar Bartholin the Younger, a Danish anatomist who described the glands in the 17th century. While most people would think having one body part named after them is impressive, Sir William Bowman believed this was the mark of a rookie. At only 25 years old, Bowman discovered the cup-shaped sac situated at the beginning of the tubular component of the nephron in the kidney. These sacs play a vital role in blood and urine filtration in the kidneys, performing the first step of the filtration process. We now know these sacs as Bowman's capsules. Bowman was not happy with having his name associated with just one body part. Oh no, he wanted more. He got back to work looking for his next big contribution to anatomical science. Then he found a structure deserving of his name. A membrane this time. Bowman's membrane is a thin layer just underneath the epithelium, the outer layer of the cornea in the eye. Well, 2 body parts were still not enough. And since he didn't have TikTok to keep himself busy creating cringy, dense videos, he continued working to find another structure to name. And this time, the olfactory glands that lie just beneath the olfactory epithelium in the nose, the Bowman's glands. Langerhans, another name that you have probably heard in your anatomy or histology class. Paul Langerhans was a German pathologist born into a family of scientists and physicians. He had a passion for anatomy from an early age. While some of us at the age of 21 are worried about what filter to use on Instagram, Langerhans made his first critical discovery at 21 while working as a medical student in Berlin. That was 1869. Using a chloride staining technique, he discovered non-pigmentary dendritic cells in the pancreas. And at the time, Langerhans mistakenly believed these cells were receptors in the nervous system, but he later admitted his mistake. And not long after, Langerhans continued his study into pancreatic cells and discovered the islets of Langerhans. These are endocrine cells that only make up a small portion of the cells in the pancreas, but nonetheless fulfill a vital function. They play an essential role in insulin secretion. Canals of Schlemm, sometimes called Schlemm's canal, is a circular lymphatic-like vessel in the eye. This vessel collects aqueous humor, a transparent water-like fluid similar to plasma, from the anterior chamber of the eye and delivers it to the bloodstream. These canals were named after German barber surgeon turned anatomist Friedrich Schlemm. Schlemm came from a humble background, and as his family could not afford higher education, he proceeded his studies by becoming a barber surgeon apprentice. Believe it or not, we also owe to him the discovery of the corneal nerves of the eye. One, however, must not ignore his historic background as an alleged body snatcher. And no, I'm not talking about when queens in RuPaul's Drag Race say, "Her body is snatched for the gods, mama." I'm actually talking about people that would sneak into cemeteries, dig out corpses, and sell them for dissection or anatomy lectures in medical schools. Oh yeah, body snatching was a known crime committed within the medical community in the 19th century. Have you ever popped your ears after a flight? If you have, then I have news for you. You weren't popping anything at all. What you were actually doing is opening your Eustachian tubes to equalize the pressure between your ears and the outside air. These tubes are named after the 16th century Italian scientist Bartolomeo Eustachi, today known as one of the fathers of human anatomy. In 1552, he completed his text Anatomical Engravings, a surprisingly detailed and ahead of its time body of work on the human body. However, due to the fear of scrutiny by the Catholic Church, he didn't dare to publish it. It wasn't until the manuscript was found many decades later that it was eventually published, and Eustachi was recognized for his groundbreaking work. You've seen countless times on TV people passing out in pain due to a burst appendix. In real life, the diagnosis of appendicitis is not nearly as dramatic, and it's usually done by checking the McBurney's point. The McBurney's point is an area in the lower right quadrant of the abdomen where people suffering from appendicitis typically experience tenderness and pain. Dr. Charles McBurney was the first to describe this point, but he didn't stop there. He also aimed to advance the treatment of appendicitis. Appendicitis is an inflammation of the appendix, which can be fatal if left untreated. Untreated appendicitis can lead to a burst appendix, which causes the infection to spread throughout the body. And that's why Dr. McBurney's discoveries were so important. And not only did he discover the landmark symptom of appendicitis, but he also went on to pioneer a surgical technique to remove the appendix later on. So far, we have looked at the body parts that share their names with scientists that actually existed once. But what about body parts named after mythological characters and biblical figures? Yeah, anatomy can be whimsical too. The Achilles tendon gets its name from the fast, powerful, and invincible Greek demigod Achilles. And as the myth goes, Achilles' mother dipped him in the river Styx, making his entire body invulnerable. But oopsie, she actually forgot the part of his foot where she held him. Incidentally, this is also where we get the term Achilles heel to refer to a weakness despite overall strength. For example, when we catch ourselves scrolling through social media instead of studying. Yeah, remember that a short attention span is our Achilles heel. Have you ever wondered what's that lump found in men's throats? That's the Adam's apple, a protrusion or lump caused by ligaments, muscle, and cartilage surrounding the larynx, also known as the voice box. Then why don't women have one? Actually, that's a common misconception. Everyone's larynx grows during puberty, no matter your sex, but the growth is more pronounced in men. But why that name? Does it have anything to do with fruit? Well, if you're thinking about that time Adam, the father of humanity according to the Christian Bible, couldn't resist a delicious apple, you guessed it right. However, that apple happened to be the forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, so when Adam ate it, the apple became forever lodged in his throat to remind him of his sin. Okay, and that was it for the list of people who achieved eternity by naming body structures after themselves. Learning about the human body is a lot of fun, and for a lot of you out there, watching this video is a requirement in your studies. I do these videos for fun here on my channel, but my full-time job is creating learning materials for anyone that wants to learn human anatomy at KenHub. We have a huge collection of beautiful illustrations done by medical art superstars. So head over to kenhub.com to check all these structures listed in the video in more detail. You can browse through our complete atlas of human anatomy and hundreds of detailed articles entirely for free once you register. Yeah, no buts or ifs. And in addition to that, we offer a collection of interactive quizzes and fun videos to all members who decide to upgrade to KenHub Premium. So click on the link in the description to check out KenHub. Before you go, I would like to also remind you to like this video so you tell me and YouTube that you want to see more of these videos, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss out on the next upload. I will see you next time. Yeah, I'm a bad singer.